Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hello.
We're here to talk about John Wick 3.
Yay.
Parabellum.
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 I can't remember how the guy pronounced it in the movie now, but I know what it means.
Get ready to funk. I know, it says get ready for war. Something like that,
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
This comes from IMDb. Super assassin John Wick is on the run after killing a member of the International Assassins Guild, and with a $14 million price tag on his head, he is the target of hitmen and women everywhere. It's directed by Chad Stahelski, and it's written by Derek Kolstad, Shay Hatton, and there's 4 more credits. I don't know who that is because I don't want to click on it. Starring Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, and Ian McShane. The very first thing that people will ask you probably is, how was it? And it was great.
It's really fun.
I think it was a really, really good movie overall. I do have some complaints, but I want you guys to know, like, before I go with the rest of the discussion on this, I really enjoyed the film.
Mm-hmm.
I love the world of John Wick. I really like the music in this movie. I like the characters, just the world building in general. So interesting. The look of it.
Yes.
I really enjoy John Wick a lot. A lot.
And the action, how can you fail to mention the action?
Well, I'm getting to that because that's where, so...
I liked the action. I thought it was very fun for the most part.
Specifically with regards to the action, I don't know if it bests the first one for me personally, and that might just be because the action was relatively new in the first one. They've upped the ante in here.
Yes.
They've got a lot of new ideas, and I'll get into more detail about that. As a whole, I think John Wick 1 is still my favorite. This is my second favorite, and number 2 is a far third. Like, I put John Wick 1 and 3 together as like 2 films I would like to watch again and again.
Yeah.
I think there's so many cool ideas in here. This is such a fun film overall. It's got so much personality. It's just so creative. Like
Very creative. There were many things that they did action-wise that I was like, I don't think I've seen that before done that way.
Well, we're talking about 2 different things. I'm still thinking about the world building aspect of it, like just all the different characters they have in place, the underground
Yeah,
sort of
I liked
network.
that a lot as well.
You know, that to me is the most intriguing part, just that there's this parallel kind of world happening to our own normal,
Yeah, and then all the rules and stuff within that world, they make it very clear.
Right.
And like it is very much bound by the rules.
Right. It's interesting how they kind of play with that and the codes that are broken and whatnot.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is fascinating to me. I love it. I think for most people, this will be their favorite. In terms of just the sheer level of action, I think this will be the favorite for most people. I can totally see why. I get it. Like, watching it, I'm like, I have both brains going at the same time. I've got the critical Jaby brain and the I'm just a fan brain, right? What was bothering me was, so Chad Stahelski, he used to be Keanu Reeves' stunt double for like The Matrix and for Constantine. Chad was his stunt double, and he's ascended in his career to becoming a director, obviously. 8711 is his own studio where people in the industry train for flipping and stunt work and wire work and all that stuff. And so 8711 is a co-producer on this project. So Chad obviously comes from that world, and he has an eye for how things should look. He obviously is aware of how bad things have been shot in terms of action. They don't call it choreography anymore, I think. They call it action design, because it is action design. It's not just choreographing movement. You're designing the action with all this different stuff going on. I think that the choreography is brilliant.
Yes.
And the way it's shot is brilliant. The issue is, I think Chad was very married to how he wanted to shoot this. He wanted this to be visually correct. It ended up introducing some issues. I don't know if it was because Keanu Reeves is a perfectionist and maybe the stunt guys got tired after a while. And I don't know. I have no idea what went on behind the scenes because I wasn't there. And I haven't talked to any of the stunt guys yet that worked on it. But there were moments in the film where I saw people prepping for a move and not doing anything with it. In the very beginning, there was a fight between Keanu Reeves and some people, right? Which happens a lot in the movie. Keanu Reeves has this guy, and he's got his hand like this, and it's a tail sign that he's gonna punch him at some point. I'm like, why aren't you punching him?
Yeah.
Why are you waiting? And that happened a number of times. Someone comes up with like ready to hit, and it's like he comes in and he's right there, but he doesn't swing yet because Keanu Reeves is not ready. That kind of thing happened a lot, and I'm like, okay, so Keanu Reeves wants to do it himself. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't want a stunt double in there. He's trained enough to do this. But the byproduct of that is now you're more afraid of hurting the star of the movie. Can you imagine if you're the stunt guy that hurt Keanu Reeves and now he's out of commission for a month or 2 months or more and the whole production's on hold? Like, he's too expensive to hurt. Even with the long hair and everything, which probably helps with having a double when he needs one. You can tell if it's Keanu Reeves. That's the one thing where you have to go, okay, it is him, and that's great. He's a star.
Yeah.
And he's over 50 years old. So you have to be forgiving of those kinds of things. Even someone as critical as me of fight scenes, I had to tell myself very early on, I'm like, okay, he's over 50 and he's doing this himself. He's not like as trained as all of the stunt people are. I gotta forgive it. And that allowed me to enjoy it even more.
I liked it, although I did notice some of those things, probably not as much as you. I just thought the action was so creative. There was so many different sequences that were cool, like with the motorbikes, with the horse, stuff you saw in the trailer. It was just like next level. There were points where I was like, okay, wow, this is kind of almost too much action for me. Can we just take a quick breath and then get back into it?
Well, what they did a great job of introducing, particularly in the final act. I'm not going to say what happened, but in the final act, they introduced a lot of character stuff and a lot of moments in between the fighting where I'm like, okay, that helps you to appreciate everything way more. When you introduce like things that make them human, then it's more interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And the stuff you're talking about, where you're complaining about, is in the middle of the movie where they didn't have as much of that. And so it's just kind of exhausting because it's just a lot of, you're just being kind of bludgeoned with a lot of action.
Saying that as well with the character stuff, I did appreciate that this time you really get a sense of John Wick's past. And what made him who he is.
With each installment, you are learning more and more about him and his past. And so you explore it a little bit deeper here, which is cool.
Yeah, which is cool. And like you said, like all of the world building stuff was awesome. I have to give props to the people in the prop department, set designers, the costume design, just the entire look of it. I was just in love with it. I thought it was just so slick and cool and awesome.
I can't be specific because I don't want to have any spoilers in this review. I am fairly certain that the huge action sequence in the middle of the movie is inspired by Metal Gear Solid. The last Metal Gear Solid. I'm pretty sure there's stuff that's inspired by Metal Gear Solid 5. And when you guys watch it, just think about that and you might know what I'm talking about. Because there's some CQC stuff, there's some non-human additions that
Oh, yeah.
I feel like is straight out of Metal Gear Solid 5. And it may be that Chad never watched Metal Gear Solid, or played Metal Gear Solid rather. I feel like a lot of stunt guys are very familiar with video games because they need things to do with their off time because there's a lot of downtime. I'm fully confident that it had at least a little bit of inspiration here. And I was like, oh, that's so cool because I know exactly where that came from. I know why that idea came to place and how it was used and elevated from Metal Gear Solid was awesome. It was very, very creative. But that same fight scene is where you felt the exhaustion because it was like, okay, I know why you got exhausted. It's not just the lack of character moments in there because I did have some. It was also that there was no trajectory that was clear other than survival in that fight scene. And that happened a lot in the movie where it's like, it's just, I need to survive. It's a very easy objective to understand. Beyond that, it was like, there was no story within the fight, which is what you find like in something like The Matrix. If you go back and watch The Matrix, the fight scene between Neo and Morpheus, that first dojo fight, there's a very clear story going on there of what's happening. And that happens again in the train station fight. Like, there's a very clear story in that fight scene. A lot of the action, like, there was no real story. It was just like,
cool looking.
It's just cool looking action, cool looking action, cool, and like, okay, wow. And then it's over. And there's nothing that really indicates that it's coming towards the end of that action sequence. It just stops. That's where it was lacking, and that's why it felt longer. And you started to kind of lose your sense of urgency and peril because it's just like, damn, like they're just kicking a lot of ass.
For me, this was a symphony of death and carnage, but very fun.
You're coming in to watch the action,
yes.
But I feel like you get so much more because this has great bad guys, a great great antagonists, I should say. There's so much more than just action here, and that's what I love about John Wick, the series in general. Not part 2 so much, part 1 and part 3. It's just there's so much there beyond just punches, kicks, and guns. There's a lot that supports that action. The story around it, the environment, it's so brilliant. I just hope they do more of these because this is such a fun world. It reminds me almost of Japanese anime in a way, just the way it's conducted. I'm like, oh my god, this is like that's always what gets me excited when like you see the coin, the design of the coin, like all the little things, the concierge at the hotel, all of that is so just fun. Like
just all the characters are so interesting.
Right.
You know, like they're very specific.
The one thing that's lacking in this that I wish they would bring back is car stuff. There's no car stuff at all. They had it in the first one. They established right at the beginning of John Wick 1 that he practices his car stuff, right? At the end of John Wick 1, that comes into play really without justification. Because there's really no need for that car stuff at the end of that movie, but it was cool. I wanted them to bring that back because he's skilled. He's a skilled driver, and they never use it in this film. I'm like, oh, damn. But, I mean, they did a lot of other cool stuff. I guess the thinking is, you got Fast and Furious.
But they got motorcycle stuff in there.
They have motorcycle stuff, they have horse stuff. The horse thing is another reason why I'm super confident whoever was helping design the action, played Metal Gear Solid 5. It's just like, that was straight out of Metal Gear Solid 5. So, anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. This has been a fun experience, and I actually want to watch this again. We watched it in IMAX, and I think that you don't need to watch it in IMAX, but it certainly enhanced it. Like, it was a fun experience. It was fun. So yeah, do check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure that if you're watching this review, you probably have seen the film already, but if you haven't yet and you just wanted another opinion, I recommend it very, very strongly. Check it out. And Keanu Reeves is, I love Keanu Reeves. I have to mention Mark Dacascos.
Yes, I was wondering if you would, and I thought maybe you were concerned that was a spoiler, but...
No, it's not a spoiler. I mentioned Mark Dacascos from the trailer. I think Mark Dacascos is awesome, and he did a fantastic job in this movie.
Yes, he was a great bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he's one of the best bad guys we've had in an action film of this nature in a long time. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Be sure to check out ACHARA KIRK on her YouTube channel, youtube.com/ACHARA. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we drop another video. And check out our other reactions, reviews, short films, vlogs, interviews. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.